Retrobotics.
Welcome to Retrobotics.
So we were thinking, we obviously have accrued quite a few games in the last couple of years. And for some of the older projects we picked up, we have lots of stock of random video we took and bringing them back to life. But we didn't really do it with any goals in mind of making real videos out of it. And we flirted with the idea over the time that we've had them going back and making cuts, but they really didn't have a story. So what we're going to do now is we're going to sit down and tell you the story of some of our older games, this particular story being of Space Invaders. And we're going to do this with a few of our other games as well, just the things that we acquired very early on in our collection. So sit back and hopefully relax and enjoy the story of our Space Invaders.
Yeah, so this one was actually technically the first/second game that we got, because the first ever full game we got was Tempest. And it was one of those things where I remember, Liam, you kind of being like, oh, I loved this game, but we're never going to find one ever. So
we had started setting up our game room here in the house. We had a pool table, we had my Mortal Kombat machine I got in high school, and we had a jukebox. It'd be cool, maybe, to get another arcade machine. And Sam was like, well, if we got another machine, which one would you want? And I started listing off some of the games that I remembered from playing when I was younger and enjoyed, such as Tempest and Space Invaders and things like that. And I remember mentioning to her, oh yeah, Tempest is really cool, but it's a color vector machine. There's no way we're going to find one of those. They don't pop up very often. They're very rare and expensive. So we just started browsing Facebook Marketplace, and we found a listing for a guy saying, getting out of the hobby. And it didn't list Tempest. It listed Space Invaders, a Gauntlet Legends, and I think a Donkey Kong or something.
Yeah.
But in the background, there was a Tempest.
And you were just like, literally the day before, you'd been like, we're never going to find one. And then you're like, oh, wait, I actually found one. I can see it in this photo, like right there. Like, we'll, message the guy and see if he has it.
So he did have it, and he said, Tempest, it's been sitting in some guy's basement for 30 years. It has everything with it, needs a new flyback. And we, being inexperienced, we're like, okay, cool, that sounds like a quick and easy repair. Mm-hmm. Awesome, we'll come get it tomorrow.
Literally, got in the car.
And it was a 7-hour each-way drive, but worth it, because the machine was gorgeous. But anyway, this video is not about Tempest. This video is about Space Invaders.
Yeah.
All that to say, when he gave us the Tempest, he sort of felt bad we drove so long. He gave us the complete internals of a Space Invaders machine. Because
we've been talking with him over Messenger, and I was, he's saying, are you interested in anything else? And I was like, oh, maybe Space Invaders. And then he said it was only the internals, and we weren't sure. And, me, I'm a sucker for anything space. And, he ended up just giving us the box of guts.
Yeah, the box contained the L-shaped circuit board, the power supply, monitor chassis. And that was it.
I think it was good for us because essentially, right, we had never collected games. You had this game, Mortal Kombat, from when you were a kid, but we didn't really know any of the ins and outs of that people were still collecting them so profusely, and that they were,
We hadn't been to Caleb.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was shortly after that you started it. But I think us getting Tempest and then getting the internals kind of gave us the momentum to keep going, because we're like, well, we have all these internals, what are we going to do with them? I had some vagrant ideas of what if we built a really weird kind of modern arts arcade piece that
we have some of those sketches.
Yeah, so exactly. But then we ended up very shortly after, then we realized we could look on Facebook Marketplace for games, and we, it became like a little ritual every day. You would look on my phone and look at all the different ads, and we were just scrolling through, and I remember seeing one that I was looking at.
It was an arcade warehouse clear out.
Yeah.
It was in Ohio. Everything's in Ohio.
I know.
The promised land.
I know. But so...
as Charlie would say.
Yeah, exactly. And I was just looking through, and I was like, hey, Liam, is that Space Invaders Deluxe? like,
and it was just the empty cabinet.
Yeah, and so it's exactly the missing piece, right? And also it was like so, you know, it was like really small in the background, but I noticed the red siding because I had been looking at the different versions to make sure we could find the one that matched. So yeah, we decided, you know, why don't we take it's like 8-hour drive to Ohio.
Or it was 6 hours, each way.
Yeah.
But we went out there and we found the empty cabinet, and it was, well, there was a reason that it was so cheap, and the reason was it was trashed beyond all belief.
Oh my god.
Really, really bad.
But it did have
more internals.
Yeah, it had more internals. So then we had, you know, which is good for us because again, we're learning, you know.
I think it came with 2 extra power supplies, another circuit board.
It's stuff to test with, stuff to look at, stuff to try fixing without, you know, being as worried because it didn't cost a lot.
2 more monitors, 2 more chassis.
Yeah. Well, and it had a bunch of extra art.
Yeah.
And that was kind of also our first...
well, it was the back art. It didn't have an extra bezel or anything.
Yeah. But then we tried also learning how to, you know, sell some things so that then, like, to counteract, you know, then our spreadsheet had, you know, how much we paid for stuff and how much we sold. And at one point, this was a negative game.
Yeah.
Like, we got more money back from selling the art, which was nice. Because other games are not negative.
But, this guy, to put it into context, he had an entire like cardboard gaylord filled with nothing but Space Invaders PCBs. It was insane.
Yeah.
So they pretty much just gave this thing to us.
They were really nice.
So we got it home and started integrating the cabinet, and let me tell you, it came with a lot of free spiders. Sam was displeased. It was really gross. But we started to get some signs of life out of the machine.
And I remember distinctly, it was like one of the first games that we were also just like the two of us testing and not knowing what was happening, and you know, you doing some changes and me looking at the monitor and being like, I don't, like, this doesn't look right, are we getting close? Us having no idea, you know, like getting to do capacitor kits, doing a flyback.
Everything was bad. That could be bad on it. There's footage we're gonna show of when we first got the monitor to come on. It was just snow. It had these weird lines all the way through the screen. And that turned out to be our first foray into board repair, because there were a number of things wrong with the video circuit on the one working PCB that we had, or quote unquote working. Yeah. And it turned out to be because of cut or corroded traces on the board. So we replaced a couple chips and then added some jumpers, and we were able to get pretty good looking gameplay out of it. Yeah. I mean, I would say, because, I mean, the other thing, right, we got Tempest at the same time as the Guts, but Tempest didn't work for like a year. So this was the first game that I think that we got, because we also got Centipede around that time, but it was already working. So Space Invaders was, I think, the first game that we got from like not working to working with our efforts, right? Yeah. Which was, you know, very rewarding. And it also, once it started the video, it had a whole bunch of sound issues, missing sounds, distorted sounds. It still occasionally has a distorted sound. I really haven't put much time into finding that particular error. Yeah. But it basically was a game that had a lot of issues, and the water damage to the cabinet was so extensive that it was like a full inch shorter than it should have been. Because, you're probably wondering, you keep saying this cabinet was trashed. Why does it look better? And the answer is because we got another one. This is actually, I think, well, until Asteroids, it was the only game that we ended up getting a duplicate of. Yeah. So to like make the best version. And I'll show a picture of this cabinet sitting next to the original one, and you can see how much lower and tilted forward it was. But we were in Georgia visiting a friend of Sam's, and we saw an ad for a Space Invaders on the way back. That was, you know, the same cabinet, but $100 cheaper. It was just only $100. Yeah, something like that. That or 200. And we figured we'd pick it up and just. It wasn't working, but it was complete. Yeah. Yeah. So we figured we would try to combine the parts that we had to build the best Space Invaders that we could, because the original cabinet was literally falling apart. Find wood in the morning on the floor. Yeah. And again, because we were in the positive for that game, we were kind of like, well, you know, this game hasn't broken our bank. We can spend a little extra money and make it, you know, the best version, because we want to keep these, you know, for really far down in the future, you know, like when we have kids and we're old. The only thing trashed about the other cabinet, this particular one that was bad, was the control panel had no art. Yeah. So we ended up buying another control panel off of eBay, and this is that one. It has an original CPO on it, so it's a little dirty. It's just patina. Yeah, I like it though. You can
Is it character?
It gives it, yeah.
It still has
character.
some really good reflective parts.
So we did end up having for a little while both machines working.
Yeah, and then we were like, okay, well, this is perfect. You know, we have
We were able to fix the other machine.
Yeah, we're like, we have our new one, we'll try to sell the other one because it's working, you know. And then it ended up having just like weird bugs and stopped working right before we were going to sell it. And so then, of course, we listed it as like not working, so we were going to get less money.
But we had it listed for months to try to sell this particular machine.
Yeah.
And it would just end up having no bites, reducing the price and reducing the price and reducing the price until eventually we were just like, okay, guys, we're going to, who wants the parts?
Yeah.
Because it was a Frankenstein machine anyway, both of them were.
Mm-hmm.
So we just sold the internals of the cabinet until we had nothing left. And then we were like, well, now we still have this empty cabinet. What are we going to do with it?
Which is in disrepair.
Which is trashed on the bottom. It's falling apart. It was held together by rainbow duct tape at one point. I remember that. We had to like tape it together so that it wouldn't destroy itself all over our floor. But anyway, we ended up deciding, wouldn't it be cool if we turned it into a bar?
Yeah. We love projects. And also, I mean, we don't want to, we truly believe in restoring games back to their,
nobody was buying this.
Foremost glory. But yeah, this one was a little too damaged. And we still think we can do a really cool thing with it. So we ended up, taking it apart really carefully, cutting the parts of the bottom that were like really damaged.
Yeah, we cut off the bottom of the cabinet. We made it so that they could be joined together into a bar top.
Yeah.
Because the sides weren't so bad. They had an interesting piece of sun damage on one side. It was like
I loved it.
10 Space Invaders.
Yeah, but I thought it was cool.
But so that's the plan with that one, is to turn it into a bar top eventually.
Yeah, and so we're hoping, we didn't have the space in this house we're renting right now, but our next house, we're hoping that we can really make it very immersive bar, very cool.
The cabinet, if it could have been avoided, I would have done something else with it, but it was just too bad at one point. So.
Also, it's still like special to us because it was,
Yeah, I'm glad that we still have those elements and it will be transformed into something else. It's always a sad thing when a machine is no longer there.
Yeah.
There's one less. But on the other side, I'm happy that the internals of the machine went to good people. I saw a number of people on KLove complete their builds because of the parts that we sent out, including somebody who made a custom Space Invaders Deluxe cabaret.
Yeah,
which was kind of cool.
We had so many parts too because we had doubles.
Yeah, we had so many things sent out.
We liked saving a certain amount of spares, but it was like a little too excessive for
we have any spares except for CRT. So if anyone wants a free Space Invaders CRT and is willing to drive for it, I've got too many.
Oh yeah, but yeah, overall, it's working very nicely now. It is. For a while, was a pretty good fan favorite for some competitions amongst our friends.
Of all the games we have, Space Invaders had the most intense competition during our arcade parties because people were the highest. It's such a difficult game.
Yeah, well, and they also really it just shows whoever has the highest score.
Yeah, there's no high score table.
There's no high score table, and so we had one friend who would try to beat Liam's score, because Liam has the highest scores on like all the games. I don't even try anymore, okay? It's better for our marriage. And one of our friends beat his score, and he just wrote like a mean thing.
Shit,
yeah. And so Liam just after the party the next day, like Saturday, was just playing Space Invaders until he could beat it, so he could put his name back on. But yeah.
It didn't take me that long. I think probably like 5 games.
Yeah. I mean, you're very good.
But still, I was like, come on, man, really?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, we're very happy with this particular cabinet. So let's go and show some gameplay so this overly long talk show can be concluded.
Yeah.
That makes a little bit of a explosion sound sometimes. You can see the Invader Destroyed sound is acting up today. It's governed by a 4006 chip, but the one that's in the cabinet is good. I keep retesting it, and it hasn't failed me. I've replaced it, and it still does the same thing. And honestly, it's not that big of a problem, so I just have elected not to care for the time being. Usually I'm more OCD about these things, but I've replaced that damn chip like 8 times.
and its associated circuitry. It'll work for a little while and then start acting up. So clearly something else is affecting it, but I'm not entirely sure what it is. And there's a reason we put it next to Tempest. We'll probably mention this again in the Tempest video, but Space Invaders was the direct inspiration for Tempest. It was actually a dream that I think Dave Fuhrer had when he did Tempest, of sort of a first-person Space Invaders that turned into monsters crawling out of a hole. And that's where the Vortex idea came from, which later morphed into Tempest. So, because of that shared history, we have put them next to each other. There's also a secret way to get a lot of extra points in Space Invaders, whereas if the last invader that you kill is the one in the top left, you'll get a whole bunch of bonus points. I sometimes attempt to do that, but generally not, because it's risky. It'll create a little fireworks show, which is neat, because Space Invaders Deluxe is one of the earlier games with sort of cutscenes with the aliens trying to get away on their mothership. So, one other pending issue with this game, which may be evident from the video, is that the screen is kind of dim. Which one?
I've never seen it. Center left?
Yeah, those ones pulse.
They pulse? I've never made that far.
The reason that they pulse is... Oh, this one right here that you're talking about that's over me?
Yeah.
When you kill them, they split apart into two more usually.
Oh.
Because I've actually already killed that one. Never mind. Yeah, so this one right here.
Yeah.
Two up. If I kill it, it should... Maybe I'm forgetting which one it is. There are some that split. I may have killed them all already.
Interesting.
They'll just split into two smaller enemies that pulse. I have to actually take care of these guys. Oops. I may have screwed myself here. Oops. Oh, that's not good. I think it's game over.
You haven't beat my centipede score yet.
No.
I have one game.